Hello everyone, welcome to this new video in which we are going to be discussing about product quantization, and this particular method is a compression technique for vector embeddings that you might have, and it essentially allows us to do a compression of manifold. As you can see here, I have given one example that 1.5 GB can be easily reduced to 48 MB, and it depends on the kind of vector and the dimensions of vector obviously, but I will take one example here which will make it clear, and I'll assume some things like dimension of the vectors and all to get these numbers. Okay, so let's create a problem, and the problem is that suppose I have 1 million vectors. One second, I have 1 million vectors and each is having dimension of about 843. And when we say about dimension is so essentially dimension means the length of the vector. So we have 1 million vectors and each vector is having the length of 384. So let's compute the size of how much storage space these 1 million vectors would take. Since most of the time these vectors are stored as double floating point, so if you know about float 32, they essentially takes 4 byte space in the computer memory. And once we know this, what we can do is, so these numbers, all of these numbers, so we have got 1 million vectors, so size will be 1 million, which is this, into how many numbers we are talking about. So each vector is having this number and each is having size of 4 byte, and if we compute this number, it will turn out to be about 1.5 kilobyte, and if you do this math, it will turn out to be 1.5 GB. So the topic of the discussion for this particular video is that how can I reduce this space from 1.5 GB to say something less than that. And there are many compression techniques, like we can do half precision and we can do int quantization, but here I'm discussing about product quantization, which does a wonderful amount of quantization. And obviously the vector representation that we get after doing the quantization are going to be different from what we originally have. But for semantic search applications, they are mostly not that much different, okay, and they get the job done. And although 1.5 GB is quite manageable for today's computer, if let's say I'm talking about 1 billion vectors, then this will be multiplied by 1000, and I'm talking about the space of 10 terabyte to 15 terabyte there. Okay, so that is huge, right? And if we can somehow decrease this size, it will be wonderful. So let's create a new node and let's start with the discussion of how product quantization works. So essentially what we have is, we have several vectors. We have vector 1, and vector 1 is like this. Okay, so it has got numbers starting from, let's say I will say A1, A2, so on up to A384. Similarly, I have vector 2. It has maybe I can do A11, A12. Let's rewrite it. So I have vector 1, and vector 1 has got numbers A11, A12, so on up to A1, 384, and vector 2 will have A21, A22, so on up to A2384. Similarly, this will go up to vector 1 million, which I can represent as 1 million, and this will be A 1 million, or I can write million 1 AM2, so on up to AM, comma 384, and this I can close. So the idea is that each vector, so we choose something known as sub-vector dimension, okay, sub-vector dimension, and let's say we want to split each of our vector into sub-vectors of size 8. So in that case, how many vectors we are looking at? 384 divided by 8, which will be 48. What this means is, I will divide this, let me write it in a different color. I'll divide this number, this vector, like this, okay, this and so on. Similarly, this is our second vector, and so on, and this is our last vector, this, and so on. I hope you get what I am trying to do here. So what I am doing is, I am taking my first vector and I am grouping first 8 entries, and then I am grouping next 8 entries, and so on, and I am doing this for 48 times. So what we have is, each vector v1, v2, so on up to v1m, 1 million, have been splitted into 48 different vectors of size 8. And then what we do is, we think of this space. So this is a different space, this is a different space, so we consider these spaces as differently. So what we have is, so this is basically 1 million vectors, 1 million vectors of d is equal to 8. Now these 1 million vectors are corresponding to the position of 1, okay, so this is 1th position. Similarly, in the 2nd position I have the similar situation, and similarly up to 48th position I have similar situation. So what we have here is, we have 48 instances or groups of 1 million vector, okay, and what we do is, for each instance, so consider this first instance, first group, and this group has got 1 million vectors of 8 dimension. We fit a k-means, of size, say k is equal to 256. Let's assume 256 for example. So what we have is, so what we do is, we try to represent each instance with these 256 numbers. 256 numbers, these are not exactly numbers, these are vectors. So I hope you are getting the gist of it. So what I am trying to say is, I am trying to replace these 1 million vectors with these 256 centroids, and I am going to do this for each group. So I am going to do this how many times? 48 times. So k-means will be executed 48 times, and what we will have is, let me write it here, I will have 256 centroids. How many times? 48. So essentially I will have 256 multiplied by 48 centroids, which means now what I can do is, let's resize this. So which means now what I can do is, I can rewrite my vector 1. So for example, the first vector with 8 dimension can be written as the index of the centroid. So let's say the centroid index is 3, and second entry can be written similarly as maybe 49. Third one can be written, and this 49 is coming from second group, okay, and this 3 is coming from first group, and similarly the last number can be 2, maybe 30, since there are 256 centroids, okay. Similarly, V2 can be written like this, and Vm can be written like this. Now, how many numbers I am storing here? I am storing only 48 numbers, and those numbers are only integer, right? An integer takes only 1 byte. And why can I do this? This third represents what? This third is a centroid, and this basically centroid is going to be stored in something known as copy codes, I guess. Maybe code book, but name is not important. So what is important is these many centroids, which is 256 multiplied by 48. These many centroids are stored somewhere else. So this works as a reference, which gives you a reference like how what exactly 3 corresponds to. We will look at this 3 index in here, and we will replace that centroid here, and that centroid will be coming from the 8th dimension space. Okay, so essentially the idea is that what we have done here is we have reduced our vectors in lower dimensional space. Now let's redo our calculations for storage. So what we will have now is, now my vector 1 is some bunch of integers, some 48 integers. So on up to vector 1 million is also 48 integers. Each integer takes 1 byte, and I have got 48 such integers. And how many vectors I have got? 1 million. Now let's do this calculation. So 48, this will be 48 million bytes, and if you do this, it will be 48 megabyte. Now this is how much storage we need to store those vectors. Okay, I hope this is clear. Let me go over that concept again, because I think I have explained it in a rush. Let me see if I have this number 28 up to 218. Let me assume that this is my vector after transforming, and these are 48 numbers. Now how will I find what goes in place of this? So what goes in place of this is a centroid vector, which will have some sort of entries, maybe 0.8, 0.9, so on up to. So this will have 8 numbers. Similarly, 28 will give me one more 8 dimension vector up to 218. So what we'll have is, I have got 48 numbers. Each number will give me this centroid, which has got 8, and the original dimension will be derived. So this is how we take our transformed vector and we get the original dimensions. So essentially what we do is, we first of all reduce the dimension of the vector, and we replace it with one integer, which is working as a reference, and this reference is pointing to one centroid representation. Now notice here we have got 256 centroid from each group. Now you might be thinking that if I increase this number, I'll get more accuracy, and you are right, because you see 256 is representing 1 million different vectors. So 256 is basically number of groups that we have divided 1 million vectors into. 1 million sub vectors, I should say. 1 million sub vectors of 8 dimension. And if I increase it to, let's say, 1000, obviously the accuracy of the system will improve. But at the same time, if I increase it to 1000, this 48 MB that I have derived here, it will also modify, right? Okay, so I hope it makes sense, and this was a brief discussion about product quantization. I did not go too deep into the maths, but I hope this rough overview of this particular method makes sense, and its effectiveness becomes clear in maybe storing 1 billion vectors. Currently you might be thinking that even 1.5 GB can be handled by modern computers, and it can, yes, but as the number of vectors increases, this method becomes even more important. Because think about it, if I have got 1 billion vectors and not even 1 billion vector. Usually what we have in modern situations are, we have 1 million documents, okay, and each document is further divided into, let's say, 5 chunks, because we can't produce one giant embedding for one giant document. So what we have is, we have 5 billion chunks, okay. This 5 billion chunks will give rise to 5 billion embeddings, and OpenAI's embedding takes are of dimension about 1536, which is much more than 384 which I assumed in this video. So it's about 5-fold. Now assuming that this is this, so what we have is 5 billion times 384, and if you do this calculation, it would be about 10 terabyte. And if I assume the OpenAI's embedding, it would be 5 times more, that is 50 terabyte. So I hope you understand the scale of the problem. And by the way, this product quantization has been implemented in library called FAISS, which is Facebook's AI library for semantic search. Because in such a scale of semantic search, we don't care much about we do care about quality, but at the same time we have to do fast searching, and that is what product quantization, also known as PQ, allow us to do. So thank you so much for watching this.